Hello again from my front porch. You know, there's a phrase that gets used a lot. It's a cliche phrase that gets thrown out a lot, and it's funny. It's funny how some phrases you just kind of blow off and you dismiss, or you use casually as you're younger. But then as you get older, the phrase actually starts to mean something, but it may not mean the same thing that it meant when you were younger. And I know you're scratching your head right now. What are you talking about, Paul? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the phrase that has been weighing on my mind here lately is the concept about, the good old days, returning to the good old days. I sure miss the good old days. And, I've really thought about that. And when I was younger, you'd casually, I remember the good old days, ha 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 ha. Now that I'm 53, I have a lot of days behind me, and I can look back and I can think, yeah, there were some good old days back there. But then I really stop and think about that concept of, would I really want to go back to even what I consider to be the best times? Because even as and we all have our own, but even as in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what were the high points of my life? What were the times when I really felt like, man, I'm right there? And honestly, frankly, right now, I kind of feel like it's one of them. But in the past, if I had thought about what were some really great times, there would be candidates too. I'd like to go back to the good old days. There are some instances that pop in my mind. The problem is, if I really think about that moment in time and I step back a bit from the really positive, shiny little memory, there was other stuff going on around that time that was not so positive and not so shiny. In my personal life, in the life of others around me personally, and just in the world in general. And when I really stop and think about the context, not just that little emotional nugget moment, but when I think about the broader context of what it would mean to literally be able to go back to that moment, suddenly the idea of going back to that moment doesn't seem so appealing. Because you can't just say, I'm going back to the good stuff. If you go back to the bad stuff too. Were there times in my past that were really wonderful, that would be so fun to revisit, that would be so interesting to go back and feel that experience again? Oh, sure. But at what cost? What is the price that I would have to pay for that? And I would expand this even farther into our current world, even our current political world. We have politicians on both sides who talk about either make America great, we'll continue to make it great, whatever the slogan is. And then you have people that say, I want to go back to a time when we blah blah blah. And right now those are competing thoughts, but both of them involve, I want to turn the clock back in some way because of this thing that I don't like right now. I liked it better here. Yeah, but if we turn the clock back for that, then we turn it back for the other stuff too. You can't just do it one way. And so then, now, how's this for irony? Here, I gotta turn this around. Check this out. Here. I'm on the front porch. It's nice. Look at that. There's the garbage guys out there. See? You see the garbage guys out there doing their thing? So, talk about take the good and the bad. Hopefully me is the good, and then they're doing the garbage right up front. I'm sorry, that was just too opportune. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of the front porch. But anyway, but another really good example that's near and dear to me, that's something that I've been passionate about since a youth, that I studied up on, was the Titanic. And so, like, I have this item here that my girlfriend Lisa, she got me for my birthday because she loves me so much, and she knows how I feel about Titanic. So she got me this. Now it's a replica, but she got me this plate from the Titanic. It's a replica of one of the first plate used in the first class areas. I've seen others that don't have any pattern at all; they're just white. And then they have the white star line red flag just in the middle, just red. And those are the second class plates, you know. But for the first class, look at all the color on their thing. But see, it is a Titanic artifact because, you know, actual things brought, and it's modeled after a plate brought up from the wreckage, but they can't sell those things. The only thing they can sell is coal brought up from the crash site, but actual items like this, yeah, that they cannot be sold. So this is a replica, but still, she got this from me because she knows that I feel really passionate about the Titanic. I've been studying it again since I was a kid. But Titanic is a really great example of what I'm talking about here, because you talk about, I want to go back to the good old days. Titanic. That was the luxury ship of its day. It was created. It was a literal floating palace, especially if you were first class, even second class. Third class, you know, they probably thought it was pretty cool too, but granted, it was the first voyage. I'm sure had Titanic not sank and that ship been used over and over, I'm sure third class would have gotten a little bit scummy, a little skanky down there. But the first maiden voyage, I'm sure even third class wasn't all that bad. Steerage, you know, probably still not the most pleasant, but again, brand new ship. But if you say I want to go back to the good old days, do you want to go back to April 10th of 1912 when Titanic is just going to set out on its voyage? Do you want to go back to April 12th? Do you want to go back to April 13th? Even the day of April 14, all of these are time frames you could go back to the good old days and really live up the high life on the Titanic. But I don't think you'd want to go back to the night of April 14th and the early morning of April 15th, 1912, because not such good old days. That's when the ship sank. You can't say, I want to go back to the opulence, to the celebration, to the wonderfulness that was April 13, April 14, April 12, and not also have to deal with the baggage that was April 15. They go hand in hand. When you talk about the good old days, yeah, there was part of it that was good, but there was part of it that wasn't so good as well. And so it's never a good idea to talk about turning the clock backwards in any respect. Now, if there are things that are done that are wrong, if you choose a direction and it's not working, and you say, you know, it was actually working a little better doing this, okay, then let's revisit that. But we're not going to turn the clock back to go back to that. We're going to revisit that concept and take it and now pull it forward to be with us as we continue to move on down the line forward. That's the way the outlook needs to be. There is no going back. There is no taking things back. There's no going back to the good old days. It's taking hold of today and making today a good day. Not a good old day, but a good new day. And then tomorrow, do it again. And the next day, again and again and again and again and again. We can learn lessons from yesterday, but we can't go back. Celebrate the memories, embrace the joy of the good old days, but don't worry about trying to go back to them. Because honestly, the good old days weren't really so good in the broader scheme of things. But tomorrow could be awesome. What do you say? I say we do it. All right, with that, I'll see you next time from my front porch.